I know many of you have wondered about situations when we all know a crime has been committed. A person has been harmed, yet no one gets charged. I understand how frustrating and heartbreaking this can feel for families who are looking for answers, accountability, and justice. Today, I want to help you understand the laws we're bound by, the difficult realities we face as prosecutors, and why our legal system works the way that it does, even when it doesn't feel right sometimes. Our justice system is built to protect victims, but it is also built to protect the innocent, which is why evidence and our burden to prove as prosecutors is so important to understand. As prosecutors, we cannot act on suspicions, no matter how convinced we might be personally. We must remain objective and make decisions based on evidence presented to us by law enforcement. Missouri law requires prosecutors to prove that a specific person or people committed a specific crime, and I must prove that they did it beyond a reasonable doubt in order to proceed with criminal prosecution. It exists this way to prevent wrongful convictions. We all know our legal system is not perfect, but we have learned throughout history that prosecuting people based on suspicions rather than proof and hard evidence leads to even greater injustice. If you were accused of something that you know you didn't do, you wouldn't want prosecutors following suspicions and hearsay rather than hard evidence, right? That protection applies to everyone, even those who we may strongly suspect of committing the crime. Proving beyond a reasonable doubt means the evidence is so convincing that a reasonable person wouldn't hesitate to come to the conclusion that the defendant is guilty. It is about having such strong evidence that any remaining doubts that the defendant did not do it would be unreasonable. So to help eliminate a reasonable person's remaining doubts and to file charges, we would need evidence of the person clearly on video committing the crime, several witnesses seeing the person committing the crime, or physical evidence directly linking the person to the crime. Often, when we can't charge someone, it may seem like we're making a choice, that we have broad discretion to decide whether or not to pursue a case based on our personal judgment. While we do have some discretion in specific situations, the reality is we are bound by Missouri state law. When the law clearly prohibits charging someone under a specific law, we cannot override that law, regardless of how we feel and regardless whether we think someone committed a specific crime. If I did so anyway, not only would it be illegal and violate my oath of office, it may also potentially result in the case being dismissed entirely. Sometimes we face situations where several people were present when a crime occurred, and they're all pointing the fingers at each other. Why can't we charge all of them? Well, our legal system still requires us to prove each person's individual guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. We can't charge someone just because they were present or because we can't rule them out as innocent. We must prove that they were involved in committing the crime. Again, to meet our burden of proof, we would need evidence for each of them that they committed the crime, like witness testimony, surveillance footage, or physical evidence. When evidence is not available, or when witnesses contradict each other, we can continue investigating and building a stronger case in hopes of a future conviction with the correct perpetrator. Say we did hypothetically charge someone without sufficient evidence. One, it could lead to an acquittal, a lawsuit for prosecutorial misconduct, and it would likely ensure that no one is ever held accountable for the crime. We know waiting feels like an action, especially when someone has been badly hurt. But rushing to charge without sufficient evidence means the real perpetrator walks free forever. When we send cases back to law enforcement for additional investigation, we may ask for more interviews, additional forensic testing, cell phone records, but it certainly is not giving up. And it doesn't mean that we don't believe something terrible has happened. It's fighting for a case strong enough to actually achieve justice and ensure it's real and it's lasting.